The Shatuo were a Turkic tribe that heavily influenced northern Chinese politics from the late 9th century through the 10th century. They are noted for founding 3 of the 5 dynasties and 1 of the kingdoms during the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms period. Origins. The Shatuo tribes descended from the Chijil tribes, belonging to a group of 6 Chu tribes collectively known as ULAN. The ULAN state survived to the end of 480s, until its independence was destroyed by the Teliots. After the fall of the its state, the ULANs formed 4 tribes: Chuyu, Chumi, Chumuhun and Chuban. These tribes became major players in the later Turkic Khaganate and thereafter Altai Chumuhuns. An 8th century Tibetan geographer mentioned Chumuhuns in Altai and south of it as the Ibilkur, and associated them with Gulag culture. They were the only Shui tribe that in the middle of the 8th century preserved their independence, in spite of being sandwiched between Karluks and Turkic. The possessions were on the west side of the Tarbagatai range. Shui Shatuo, the branch of the Shui tribes that remained in the western Turkic Khaganate as part of Onoka Union occupied territory east of the Lake Baikal, called in Chinese Shatuo, are formed of 3 sub-tribes. Shatuo participated in suppressing many uprisings on behalf of China, and for that the Chinese emperors granted the leaders various titles and rewards. After a defeat of Shui by Tibetans in 808, Shui Shatuo branch asked for protection from China and moved into Inner China. It is known that after suppression of Hu Wangchao uprising in 875 to 883, and establishing 3 out of 5 dynasties during the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms period, the number in China fell down to between 50–100,000, which ruled a Chinese population of about 50 million people. Some argue that early Chinese sources identify them as the Zhui and Chuo. Others even claim they emerged as part of the Usiaguz Confederation of Oghuz Turks. A detailed analysis of the term Shatuo is given by Professor Qian Man. The social and economic life was studied by W. Eberhard. In Tang Huyao, the Shatuo Tamga is depicted as the Shatuo Turks were gradually assimilated and held onto the power base in Shanxi. They gained in strength through the 910s until finally in 923, they were able to overcome the later Liang with Khotan assistance to found the later Tang. Shatuo nobles established the later Tang dynasty of China. During the Mongol period, the Shatuo fell under the Chagatai Khanate, and after its demise remained in its remnant in Jetisu and northern Tianshan. The Shatuo received tribute from the Tatar people from north of the Ordos in 966, while they were vassals of the Khitan emperor. In later history, the Shatuo, together with the Tianshan Kyrgyz, fell under domination of the Mongol Oirats, later known as Karmics. With the expansion of the Khanate of Kokand, the Tianshan and Jetisu Shatuo were in its protectorate. Shatuo and the Tang dynasty. To the Tang dynasty, the Shatuo served a purpose. Some claim that they were a part of the Tang dynasty's foreign policy to control and manage other border peoples identified as a threat. The Tang Chinese refer to such peoples as Western barbarians. Some argue that a divide-and-conquer policy was applied against those identified as a threat, specifically the Tibetans and Turkic tribes in Central Asia. The Tang Chinese continued this long policy, and in other epochs this became an institutionalized tradition. Zhui and Chuo Santu were a member of the Tele Union who, after being assaulted by the Western Turkic Khagan in 605, seceded from the Western Turkic Khaganate, established their own Khaganate under a leadership of Kibir tribes Bagakhagan Yagmurchan, retaining the control and income from the turf and segment of the Silk Road. a head of Sayantu tribe, Ishbara, was installed as a lesser Khagan Yetir in the 610, when on the Western Turkic Khaganate throne was raised Jakui Khagan. Both rulers renounced their Khagan ranks and rejoined the Western Turkic Khaganate. But when the next Western Turkic Tongyabgu Khagan annexed all 7 tribes of the Sayantu-headed Tele-Confederation, which also included Uyghurs, Bayakus, Edizes, Tongra, Bokus, and Bazi tribes, the Sayantu leader led in 627 his tribes into the territory of the Eastern Turkic Khaganate, defeated the main force of the Khaganate led by the son of the reigning Khagan el-Khagan, Ukukshad, and settled in the valley of Tola in the northern Mongolia. After the victory, Uyghur leader Pusa assumed a title Kat el-Tiber and split from the Confederation, and in 629 the Sayantu Inanakan declared himself a Gentoo Bilge Khagan of a new Sayantu Khaganate. The Khaganate was quickly recognized by the Tang Empire as a counterweight against its enemy Eastern Turkic Khaganate. Raising Inanan Khagan throne was done under pressure from the Tang court interested in stripping el-Khagan of the rights to the supreme power in the Hush region, and also in final dismemberment of the Turkic state, a source of many conflicts on the northern borders. Sayantu provided military service by assisting the Tang Empire against the Tatars in the 630s. The Sayantu built a vast state spanning from the Altai Mountains to the Gobi Desert. In a few years, mindful of a new powerful state on the northern border, the Tang Empire switched their allegiance to independent Uyghurs, who defeated Sayantu in 641, when under Gentoo Bilge Khagan they threatened to attack other Chinese-aligned tribes. 5 years later the short-lived empire was all but destroyed by Tang-Uyghur alliance. The remnants of the Sayantu fled west to Dzungaria and the Semi-Richi area. Emerging Shatuo. At the beginning of the 8th century, the Shatuo were subject to the Tang Empire. They provided significant aid to Emperor Suzong of Tang, alongside the Uyghurs, during the Anshi Rebellion in the 750s. Consequently, the chieftain Juye Guduoji was conferred the title of Tejin and Shaowei Shangjiang. By the end of the 8th century, the Shatuo had fallen out with the Tang Empire. They joined with other Turkic tribes in Tibet to form an alliance with the Tibetans as they felt oppressed by the Uyghurs. Though the Shatuo fought alongside Tibetan armies for more than a decade against the Tang, the Tibetans were concerned about their loyalty. When, in 808, the Shatuo decided to leave, the Tibetans pursued them, fighting battles along the way. They made it to Lingzhou Prefecture in the Gansu Corridor, where Tang General Fan Zichao granted them asylum. A source quotes them as committing mass suicide in 832 while fighting for an Uyghur ruler, but this seems to refer to a related tribe who had settled far west into the Fergana Valley. The Shatuo who had escaped Tibetan rage managed to maintain a power base in northern China around modern-day Shanxi from the late 9th century into the 10th century. In the middle of the 9th century, it may be said that the Shatuo rewarded the generosity of the Tang by fighting alongside them against the invading Tibetans, playing a prominent role in numerous victories. They also helped quell the Pangzun Rebellion and the Wang Xiangji Rebellion. Li Qiong. The Shatuo Li Qiong was conferred the post of Xixi for Dai County. He hired more than 10,000 Tatar nomads to bring back to Daizhou, but was denied admittance to the Shiling Pass. In 882, Su Yu and Helian Duo joined to prepare for an attack on Li. However, he launched a preemptive on Su's stronghold at Vaizhou Island. The Tang Emperor would soon offer amnesty to assist against Hu Wangchao, who led a fierce rebellion against the Tang. Li Qiong was named the Prince of Jin in 895 for his loyalty to the Tang. 5 dynasties. The Tang dynasty fell in 907 and was replaced by the later Liang. The Shatuo formed their own state, called Jin, in the area now known as Shanxi. They had tense relations with the later Liang, and cultivated good relations with the emerging Khitan power to the north. Later Tang, the son of Li Qiong, Li Kangzu, succeeded in destroying the later Liang in 923, declaring himself the emperor of the restored Tang, officially known as the later Tang. In line with claims of restoring the Tang, Li moved the capital from Kaifeng back to Luoyang, where it was during the Tang dynasty. The later Tang controlled more territory than the later Liang, including the Beijing area, the surrounding 16 prefectures and Shaanxi province. This was the first of 3 short-lived Shatuo dynasties. Later Jin, the later Tang, was brought to an end in 936 when Shi Jingtang, also a Shatuo, successfully rebelled against the later Tang and established the later Jin dynasty. She moved back the capital to Kaifeng, then called Bayan. The later Jin controlled essentially the same territory as the later Tang, except the strategic 16 prefectures area, which had been ceded to the expanding Liao Empire established by the Khitans. Later historians would denigrate the later Jin as a puppet regime of the powerful Liao to the north. When Shi's successor did defy the Liao, a Khitan invasion resulted in the end of the dynasty in 946. Later Han and Northern Han Kingdom. The death of the Khitan emperor on his return from the raid on the later Jin left a power vacuum that was filled by Lu Zhiyuan, another Shatuo who founded the later Han in 947. The capital was at Bayan, and the state held the same territories as its predecessor. Lu died after a single year of reign and was succeeded by his teenage son, in turn unable to reign for more than 2 years. When this very short-lived dynasty was ended by the later Zhou, the remnants of the later Han returned to the traditional Shatuo Turk stronghold of Shanxi and established the Northern Han Kingdom. Under the protection of the Khitan Liao dynasty, the tiny kingdom survived until 979, when it was finally incorporated into the Song dynasty. Surnames of Shatuo: Li, Zhuyi, Zhu, Shajin, Shah. Surnames of Zue and Chuo: Li, Xie, Zhu, Zhang.